Yasas. Imi haromini pu imi etau apopsi. This evening, your Literacy Through Love program is the perfect opening to my story, and I'd love to share it with you, because until I spoke with Aphrodite and Barbara, I didn't realize that my love of books and my education came at bedtime. I never had children. I didn't get married until I was 38, didn't know if it was even in my future. And when I married my husband, I told him I thought there was something missing. I had nephews and I had a niece, but I didn't have children. I loved having them around me. And he said, the corporate ladder, I think that's done for you. Maybe volunteering will spark something. I said, good idea. So I called a few shelters and I said, I love to read. Can I come after work and read with some children? And they said, absolutely. The first couple of weeks, I was visiting a center in Harlem, a place where children were taken from a very, very bad home. The only home they knew, the only parents they knew, but not very nurturing at all. And it was a transitional time. And I came and I read at night. And one day when I was leaving, I heard the staff say to the kids, go ahead, go on in, it's bedtime. Well, they went into another room, all right. And they shared a couch, and they shared a cot. They didn't change into anything. They were wearing what they were wearing for I don't know how long. And I stared, and I didn't understand why I had a mom and a dad. I got tucked into bed. My brothers and sister got tucked into bed. We had stories galore. My mother made them up, and she read them to us, and she tucked us in pajamas. And I looked at this room, and I didn't understand. And I said to the staff, do you think next week I could bring some pajamas? And they said, oh, that would be a great idea. That'd be great. So she told me 12 pairs of pajamas and told me the ages of the kids. And here I went with my shopping bag. I was so excited, 12 pairs of pajamas. I put them on the table, and the kids came in. And one by one, I brought them to the table, and I let them choose. Well, about the fifth or sixth little girl came over, and she stared at the table for a while. And I said, what would you like? Which one would you like? And she looked at me and she whispered, what are these? I didn't think I heard her right, and I looked at the staff woman there, and she shook her head and she mouthed to me, she doesn't know, she's never had pajamas. And I asked her what she wore to bed at night, and she tugged on her pants, and she said, my pants. And from that day on, I told everybody, please give me a pair of pajamas. No more birthday presents, no wedding presents, a pair of pajamas. Little did I know that somebody was telling somebody. And a small article appeared in Parenting magazine, and thousands of pajamas arrived at my little apartment in Riverdale, the Bronx. And from that day, reading people's notes about their bedtime, like my bedtime, and why these children didn't have a bedtime. They were being transferred from temporary home to temporary home, from shelters, taken out of a situation, wanting their mom, not knowing that it wasn't a good home. But they wanted their mom. And the letters that I got and the lessons that I have learned in 7 years is that bonding between the parents, that love at that special vulnerable time, bedtime, is where my love of reading grew out of, where that bond of security and love came from. I didn't know that there were 513,000 children in foster care that day. I didn't know that there were 25,000 of them here in DC, or 30,000 plus in New York, or 80,000 in California. Every time I think about that, I just think about a little bit of love at that bedtime grew into mountains of reading time for me, mountains for the people who were writing to me, telling me about the stories they told their children, and that they remember their moms and dads telling them, and why they love to read, and why they have gone on to teach and to work in education. The average time a child is in foster care is 4 years. That's a lot of time when they're taken out of school. That's a lot of time when they're missing reading, seeing a story, taking a book to bed in warm pajamas and not being afraid and maybe not having a nightmare. But they're having those nightmares then. And the average age of a child in foster care is 9 years old. 9-year-olds and older don't get adopted. There were 129,000 kids waiting to be adopted in 2007, trying to keep up with their reading and with school and their peers, and not knowing from one day to the next who was going to be there for them with love, with a nice storybook or a story to tell them and someone to help them read. 70 chapters in 7 years later, our hands-on approach has turned some of these groups of kids who, when they started with us, age 10, 11, 12, 13, not able to read and not wanting to tell us they don't want to read because they can't read in the circle, to a group like the boys who come from the Graham home in Hastings, New York. Now they fight over who's going to read first and who got to read more than a paragraph. And that's what we try to do for the kids that are in foster care, the kids that are in shelters, the kids that are waiting and hoping to be adopted, and the kids who are in need, who need someone to teach them. Makes a difference to have a storybook at bedtime. There was a little girl that we visited named Izzy. She was also in one of the transitional group homes, and we went to read with her, and we brought her pajamas and a whole bunch of books. And as I was leaving, she ran over to me, and I kneeled down to ask her what she wanted. And she said, "Next time, can you bring me more books and can you bring me shoes?" Of course I said, "Of course I will." And she looked at me and she said, "Please don't forget me." We can't forget her. We can't forget any of the children that we see that are so hungry for our love, who would love a simple book to cuddle up with someone and look at the pictures and feel that there's a future and that they could learn how to read. I'd like to share the poem that someone who saw what I tried to do on my own and what's happened with thousands of people in 7 years. And it goes like this. We shall walk hand in hand the pathways of light to reach the children who have been neglected, orphaned, and abandoned. We shall be the inspiration to uplift their heavy hearts and foster the smile of hope that they so rightly deserve to wear upon their precious faces. We shall read them marvelous stories to expand their imagination and return the wonder to their eyes. We shall nurture their hearts with caring, open their minds with books, and comfort them with warm, cozy pajamas for bedtime to lessen their dreaded fear of not belonging. We shall encourage them to dream their dreams filled with desire and the magic of possibilities. We shall take comfort in knowing that we have touched the children deeply, tendered their gentle souls, and sown the seeds of love that they so desperately need. We will be filled with an inexplicable joy, knowing that in giving we truly made a difference. And when the sun sets upon our mission, we will all have moved together through the darkness and awakened to a brighter day. And on that day, the children will belong to themselves, walking hand in hand as one with us, the pathways of light, reaching out to the neglected, the orphaned, and the abandoned. Esisto.